Welcome to another episode of OG55. Today we're talking all about Disneyland's Matterhorn. There's been a lot of chatter out there in the community and on YouTube. Is the Matterhorn going away forever? Is Disney just going to shut it down? We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down up next on this episode of OG55 West Coast. Let's go.
I ain't got nothing to say but West Side.
Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. I'm joined by, once again, the Italiano. We are talking all about the Matterhorn. We got some news today. Is it going to go away forever? Is it coming back? I don't know. We're going to talk about it. George, where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me right here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There we go. And George will be getting back to his content very shortly. This kidney stone thing is coming close to an end.
Yes, it's coming to a head.
It's coming to a head. So it's going to be business as usual very, very soon, everybody. But let's talk about this. So we got some. Okay, look, let me set the table. There's been a lot of. I'm going to just say straight up.
Really quick, let me set the table. I think this kidney stone would have been out by now had they would have kept the Matterhorn open this whole time and not down for refurbishment. That's
true. One ride on that bad boy and it's coming out. You would probably be spitting it out. It'd come out the other end. You know, that's a bumpy ride, George. That's a bumpy ride. You know, But yeah, let's talk about it. So there's been a lot of talk because it went down, I think, in early May, right? The Matterhorn. And there's been a lot of rumors on YouTube and social media like, oh, is the Matterhorn ever going to come back? It's a problematic ride in terms of like the track and all that. And that's true. I mean, to be fair, Matterhorn has been very, very problematic when it comes to the track and all that stuff. It's been a nightmare for Disney. It's always, every year it goes down for refurb, like for, I think like a month or so. Give or take, it's always got something going on. They got to retrofit or fix or whatever. So anyway, it went down back in May, and as the time went on, I think they removed it from the calendar even on the app. So people were speculating, is it going to come back? Well, the one and only, the GOAT, Mr. Scott Gustin, reported today, just a few hours ago, it is returning July 24th. Is that correct? July 24th. Okay, so we are getting the Matterhorn back. Now, here's why I never really thought, and look, it's not impossible for Disney to get rid of a classic attraction. I mean, if they're, they're getting rid of the Rivers of America over in Walt Disney World, you know? I mean, during the Paul Presser era, they got rid of our People Mover and the submarines. Now, the submarines came back, but, so classic attractions do go away. I don't want to give the audience a false sense of like the Matterhorn is like untouchable, because it's not. They could, in theory, get rid of it. I just feel right now that's not on the table, and I feel like it's not on the table because I think Disney. I think when it comes to Disneyland, Disney sees that park very differently, and I just feel like that's something they wouldn't really touch. I think it's classic Disneyland. It's a Disneyland exclusive. We say all the time here on the channel, they definitely favor Disneyland. Everything that goes into Disneyland is like, a lot of TLC, even compared to DCA, right? And so I just feel like right now, with the current kind of mindset Disney has when it comes to Disneyland, I can't see them removing the Matterhorn. Plus, it's a massive mountain. I mean, to have that thing just sitting empty would be a shame. I think a more likely scenario, if the track ended up being a major problem where they couldn't get parts or they couldn't fix it for whatever reason, I think they would probably gut the mountain, to be honest with you, and rebuild the track completely, which is not impossible. They can definitely do that. Now, that would be expensive. It's going to cost, a big amount for sure. They're going to write a big old check for that. But I think that's probably more likely at this time right now with the current Disney culture and how they kind of approach Disneyland, I think that's more likely than them just closing it and shuttering it and just it sits empty. I just can't see it happening. Now, if you were to ask me this in the mid 90s when Paul Pressler was running the show, oh dude, absolutely could happen. Well over 50%, right? But right now, the way they kind of treat Disneyland, the way they kind of see that park, how they kind of favor this park, like ridiculously, like almost like it's almost annoying how they favor it in a way. And I love Disneyland, but it is kind of annoying because I wish they would give the same kind of love to all the parks, you know, because all the parks bear Walt's name, even if he wasn't here to see it, right? But as of right now, I think it's safe. And look, it's reopening in July. All that kerfluffle and fear, and it's going to be okay, fandom. But what say you, George? I know that was kind of long-winded, but
yeah. For me, I completely agree with you. I feel like with the Matterhorn, I mean, especially of how fans are on edge with, you know, Disney of removing these classic beloved icons of the park. You had mentioned the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island at Magic Kingdom. Muppet Vision 3D just went on at Hollywood Studios. So I think if they were to touch Matterhorn for California locals and people who absolutely adore Disneyland for it being Walt's original park, and this was a concept that Walt came up with himself to actually place the Matterhorn in between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, which you would never see that ever again. See an attraction basically share the borderline of two lands, and they never made the Matterhorn ever again. It was a Disneyland staple. I think they would have a huge as you said, kerfluffle between the fandom and I think honestly, you know, I think they would actually put money into the mountain if worse came to worse. You know, I know that there's a lot of safety hazards and protocols that are like eyeing the mountain, and I think that's what started the whole conversation, that being when the Matterhorn goes down, if you know that like the health and safety inspectors come in and say, hey, you know what, this isn't qualified to be up and running, Disney has to make that difficult decision. What do they do with it? I don't think that they would keep the Matterhorn stagnant to just sit there and just be kind of like a monument. I think that would be like salt into the wound, so to speak, that people would see that every day and know what it was, and it's non-functioning. I mean, they already got that with the People Mover track, so I mean, I don't think they would do that with the mountain. But I do think fans do need to give Disney, before they jump off the deep end, that if and when that time comes and they do have to put the money into the Matterhorn, they cannot come back and say, oh, well, where'd the funds go for this expansion? Where did the funds go? Because if that was the case, that means they would have had to leave the Matterhorn go and then be bitching up a storm about that. So it's like, if Disney decides to put the money into the Matterhorn, let them go, but you can't then come back and say, well, how come they're not doing this? They're not doing that. Right. Sometimes, you know, with a quota, you can't like have your cake and eat it too. So
yeah. We love our cake. We love to eat it, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, and here's the thing too. And here's one scenario that I think that might be, if they're going to do anything drastic with the Matterhorn, it's not going to be shut it down. I don't think they're going to shut it down. Not anytime soon, at least. But what I do think is possible and more likely than a shutdown is a retheme. Because I can see when that day comes, eventually it's going to come, I think, where they're going to have to figure this out with the track, right? It's an aging attraction, okay? And the only way to really fix the track is to come in with new coaster track and kind of rebuild the inside of this mountain, you know, gut it and redo it. If they're going to spend all that money to gut it and retrack it with a modern track and all that stuff, it wouldn't shock me if, since they're going in there and spending that kind of money, that it would be rethemed to something else, like Frozen or something else. That's a possibility. If fans want to bitch about that and say that's definitely, I think, on the table. Not anytime soon. I think we're still years away from something like that, but that is a possibility. That's way more likely, in my opinion, than them just shutting it down, leaving it empty. What say you?
Yeah, I think lesser of the two evils, I would choose that over than shutting it down completely. I still think of how the structure is not, again, Disney can do anything, but how the structure of the mountain is and how fast the ride actually goes to keep the operations going. I'm having a hard time seeing like any like true IP that would really go in there, because you would then have the Incredicoaster situation where you then have a roller coaster and you're not necessarily theming it, you're decorating it. And it kind of creates this kind of half-ass storyline. And as far as with Frozen, you would then have to kind of reskin the whole entire mountain, because technically the Matterhorn mountain is designed like the mountain in the I believe the Swiss Alps.
Right.
Is a completely different location than the Norwegian mountains, in Arendelle. So that'd be very interesting. I still have a little strand of hope with Disney that if they still had to gut it and put the money, it would just be next generation Matterhorn.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so too. I hope they do that. But it wouldn't shock me if they ended up retheming it, especially since the aesthetics in terms of like the little wood carved little gates and all that with the little tulips on the design, right? It's very similar to that what you would see in Frozen, right? Two different areas of the world, but very similar, aesthetically. And then you have the snowy mountain. I could see them sort of working it in there because remember, Tiana, there's no mountains in New Orleans, True. Right? And they still put it in a mountain, So they might think, well, yeah, technically it's the Swiss Alps, but we'll throw Elsa in there anyway. They might. I hope they don't, though. I definitely do not want them to retheme it. I think it's fine the way it is. But if they were, I could see Frozen. But also, we're so many years away from something like that. I think that it might even be an IP we're not even aware of yet.
That is true. I mean, there is a possibility that if they do create like a mini series or a film on Disney Plus that showcases the Matterhorn, that may, it potentially save it. Also, with the structure of the mountain itself, they do utilize that for like the fireworks, because they have the performers, whether it's Tinkerbell or the Blue Fairy or Baymax, utilizing the cable line that runs, from the backstage area to the castle to the Matterhorn. So that would actually hinder a little monkey wrench into that as well.
And removing it. Yeah. It also adds really cool to, I think I'm probably using the wrong word, but I guess topography, I guess is what it's called. I think topography, if I'm not mistaken, where it gives
that. I can't even spell it.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Well, it gives Disneyland some changes in like elevation and stuff like that, which actually makes Disneyland feel a lot bigger. And having to go around the mountain to get to certain things, it gives Disneyland this illusion it's a lot bigger than it actually is. It also separates things really nicely. That mountain there, if you were to remove that mountain, it would really, really, I think, aesthetically damage that park. I think Walt did a brilliant job putting it there. I think it really adds to the dimensions of the park. And it also, like I said, it makes it feel bigger because when you have to go around that big mountain, it's that illusion that you're really traveling. If it was just flat, it would look like, and you could see across it, the park would shrink, which, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, either have like a big gaping space, like a hole, so to speak,
like a grassy lawn.
Like that it's what was there, or they put something else there. But I mean, what else can you really put there that would hold the same charm as Matterhorn Mountain? I don't know.
Here's the thing. There's not too many icons at Disneyland that live up to the castle, right? Like the castle is the main icon, right? That's the god tier Disneyland icon, right? The Matterhorn is pretty damn close to that level. Now, I'm not going to say it's the castle, but I mean, it's like right there. The castle, the Matterhorn, and I would say the Small World facade are the three biggies. And to get rid of that mountain, I just can't see them doing it. At least right now with the current culture and how they have been treating Disneyland, I just feel like they've been putting a lot of love in Disneyland. And look, on the channel, I complain about it all the time. Not that I don't think Disneyland should get the love. It should get the love. But it does make me annoyed when they just don't really give a shit, apparently, for DCA. This is a park, I've said before, sits just feet away from Walt Disney's park. And there seems to be this attitude where it's like, it's DCA, just, we'll just plop it in. You know what I'm saying? And even to some degree with the Florida parks, it's kind of the same kind of mentality, but with Disneyland, it's got to be perfect, and it's like, and that's fine, but just have that same like bar, that same standard, that same high standard with all these parks. And I'm not seeing it,
So do you think if Matterhorn was in DCA or there was a ride in DCA that was having the same
it'd be gone.
Technical issues, it would have been gone?
It would be gone, dude. Yeah, it would absolutely be gone. I think the thing saving it is nostalgia. It's Disneyland. It's nostalgia. They know the fans would have a massive fit over that. I mean, they're still getting shit for the Rivers of America over there in Florida. Do they want to add one more thing to that list now where people are going to email and the whole thing? And like, I think it's just, I think it would open up a huge can of worms. And here's the thing, it's worse at Disneyland because there is a Walt Disney connection to Florida, but that's really Roy's park in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just different, and to take something away like the Matterhorn, which is so iconic, it's like really a symbol of Disneyland, Walt's original park, and to take that out, I think would be met with massive backlash. And not just with the nerds. I think mainstream media would also get on that train and also jump on that. I don't think that even like just mainstream media outlets and stuff, there'd be a lot of pushback with something like that, dude.
Well, and also too, we were having this conversation with Starship, and when you kind of look at both like Disneyland and Walt Disney World with all these upcoming projects, DCA, right now Disneyland's not really getting anything like major right now, but DCA is getting Coco and Avatar. Yeah, Avatar is replacing Hollywood Land, but that land's been destined to be changed for how many years? Coco is not really replacing anything. They're just adding on through backstage area. But when you look at Walt Disney World, Monsters Inc. is replacing Muppets. Tropical Americas is replacing Dino Land. Cars and Villains is replacing the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. So when you kind of see that pattern,
yeah,
you're right. Like a lot of times with the Disneyland Resort, or more primarily with Disneyland, they don't like to really do a whole lot of replacing.
Yeah,
like that's more of like for whatever reason, that's Walt Disney World's thing.
Yeah, they do. And look at all the care they put into Galaxy's Edge. They had to make sure they maneuvered the river, and you have that perfect transition weaving through all the trees and all this stuff. So perfectly crafted to make sure it's perfect inside Disneyland, right? And I appreciate that. But then they just plop it into Hollywood Studios that they don't even care. And like, I'm not even a Floridian. I've only been to Disney World one time. So I have no nostalgia for Walt Disney World, but I'm a Disney fan. I'm a Walt fan. And it's like, for me, it's like to see them not have that same level of care for the Florida property is upsetting, dude. And and that's what bothers me. I just want the same love with all of it, that same, it still has Walt's name on all of this stuff. It's still Disney.
It's
so
almost
treat it
like
that way.
It's almost like they have the mentality that it's like, because it's the #1 tourist destination, for like families and for kids and what have you, that it's a complete, like the turnaround that people walk through the gates or drive through the archway for Walt Disney World. It's like, okay, we just got to get the new thing in and let's just get it in. We don't care what it looks like. People's not going to care. They're going to come anyway. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to love it. They're going to experience it. Let's get it in. Where with Disneyland, it's almost like, okay, this is like sacred holy land.
Yeah.
Like we have to maneuver with care.
Yeah, like Walt Disney put out his cigarette right there next to that rock. It's the Holy Land, right? No, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I hope when that time comes, because it will come eventually, where they are going to have to make a decision with the Matterhorn and that track. I hope they decide to put the money in.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new Funyuns.
Put the money in to do it the right way. Gut the whole thing, put an all new track in there, and do it. If it's expensive, it's expensive. That's an icon of Disneyland. You gotta maintain it. You know what I'm saying? You have to maintain it. So we'll see. But Italiano, I want to thank you for joining today on this Matterhorn episode. Where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me right here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. Everybody comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. The Matterhorn is reopening July 24th, according to Mr. Scott Gustin. It is happening in just a couple of weeks or a few weeks. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the future of this attraction? Do you think it might be rethemed to Frozen or something else, or do you think it will maintain its original theme? We would love to hear from you down below. Thank you for watching this episode of OG55. And until the next time, see you later. Don't
forget to subscribe to OG55 and become a member today.